And back to another major story we are tracking for you this morning. Time is quickly running out for people to evacuate before Hurricane Milton makes landfall.
Yeah, so many people have friends and family in that area. I want to give you a live look on your screen right now. This is Longboat Key. The storm is a Category 4 right now. That has been downgraded from a 5 earlier this morning. Its outer bands, they are already impacting parts of Florida. Now, while the storm is expected to weaken to a 3 or a 4 when it makes landfall tonight, it is still expected to cause widespread devastation in the state's central Gulf Coast. The biggest concerns are high winds and potentially record-breaking storm surge. Those staying behind in those evacuation zones are told to prepare for the worst.
Write your name on your arm so we can identify you. We're all talking the same way. Get out of these areas because we can replace your home. We can't replace your life.
Well, conditions will continue to deteriorate throughout the day today. Several cities could even see tornadoes spun off from all of this.
Yeah, and the storm comes just days after Hurricane Helene. Take a look at your screen right now. People were still trying to clean up after that storm. Now there's piles and piles of debris left behind. Officials worry Milton's winds will turn that debris into dangerous projectiles that could hit people or their homes. The impact on air travel from this approaching storm getting worse in the past hour.
It just continues to build and build. Steve is tracking those new developments from the live desk this morning.
Yeah, just one of those frustrations that a lot of people are feeling this morning as this storm continues to approach Florida. Orlando International Airport joining the growing list of airports in Florida that are shutting down commercial operations. Live picture of Orlando here as this hurricane zeroes in on Florida. The airport saying in a post on X in the past hour, it will resume operations as soon as it's safe based on damage assessments. Let's give you a live look at SeaTac Airport this morning, and more than 1,700 flights have already been canceled across the country, with several airports in Florida closing by this morning. And again, Orlando is now one of them. 19 of those flights are out of SeaTac. Another 1,700 flights have already been canceled nationwide for tomorrow. Airlines added thousands of seats, allowing more people to get out ahead of the storm. According to FedWatch advisors, the financial impact from Hurricane Milton will be severe. Estimates for insured losses are anywhere from about $100 billion up to about $175 billion. The top 3 costliest hurricanes in U.S. history, according to weather.com, were Hurricane Katrina, which slammed several states back in 2005 with losses totaling more than $192 billion. Hurricane Harvey, which slammed into the Texas coast in 2017, losses there more than $152 billion. And Hurricane Ian from 2022, losses from that one about $114 billion, a lot of money.
Gosh, and George, this is all just giving me chills. Unfortunately, I have my aunt and my uncle. They actually just got out of Tampa yesterday. It took them 10 hours to take what normally would be a 2-hour drive to somewhere that was safer. But thankfully, they were able to get out. We're trying to get in contact with them just to make sure they ride out the storm. You have been getting updates, though, all morning long as we're getting closer to the coast, the trajectory of this storm. We always know it could change even just a little bit, and that could be such a huge difference.
It really can. And I'm looking at the hourly position updates now from the National Hurricane Center. They do this hourly when an imminent landfall is approaching. So as of 9 o'clock Eastern, so 6 o'clock our time, the storm's still at 155 mile-per-hour winds, so still a strong Category 4. At this point, about 230 miles to the southwest of Tampa. There's the latest storm track, expected to maintain Category 4 status, although the winds down to 130 miles per hour. That's maximum sustained winds overnight for landfall. That would be a Category 4. When we talk about those maximum winds at 155, those are kind of wrapped up in the eye wall. The winds diminish as you get farther away, but tropical storm force winds extend 125 miles from the center of this, and those winds driving the storm surge toward the coast, and we have ongoing rains, which means flooding inland will be a concern as well.
Milton has the potential to be one of the costliest storms in history. KOMO national correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us live from Capitol Hill. And Kayla, what's the latest on these estimates, and how is the federal government responding?
Well, those estimates are looking very big and very scary, kind of like Milton itself. So this hurricane could cause more than $50 billion of damage by some estimates. And then there's those worst case scenario predictions, placing the cost at around $175 billion. That's according to Wall Street Journal analysts. This would make Milton a once in a century storm. Hurricane Helene, for example, tore through the same area or a very similar area a few weeks ago and left behind $11 billion of damage. So that kind of helps put those Milton numbers in perspective. Meanwhile, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said Monday that FEMA does have the necessary resources to respond effectively to Hurricane Milton, which is expected to make landfall later today. This comes amid reports that FEMA is facing severe staffing shortages, with just 9% of the agency's workforce available to respond to the hurricane. Historically, FEMA typically has around 25% of its workforce available to deploy at any given time to a disaster site. When pressed on this, Mayorkas remained confident in FEMA's abilities.
We're staying on top of breaking news out of Florida this morning, where Hurricane Milton is barreling toward the state's west coast.
Steve is at the live desk this morning tracking that powerful storm's path and the impact already being felt all across the country, even here in Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with air travel. And at the top of the hour, we just got some brand new information from the National Hurricane Center. Right now, Milton has now been downgraded to a Category 4. That was just downgraded moments ago, but still a very powerful storm. These are live pictures coming in from St. Petersburg this morning. It is a soggy morning out there this morning, just southwest of Tampa. You can see some of those raindrops that are hitting the lens right now. The storm is expected to cause major devastation across parts of Florida, some of them still reeling from Hurricane Helene just a couple weeks ago. So the biggest concerns this morning are high winds and potentially record-breaking storm surge. According to ABC News, approximately 6 million people across 11 Florida counties are now under mandatory evacuations. That evacuation window quickly closing this morning as that storm zeroes in on Florida's west coast. I want to show you these brand new satellite images captured from space as the hurricane moves through the Gulf of Mexico. Forecasters say the storm could bring up to 18 inches of rain and a record storm surge of up to 15 feet in parts of the Tampa Bay area, maybe a little bit further south. It has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for the state of Florida. Now to a live look to bring you of SeaTac International Airport this morning. That departures drop-off area still quite busy at this hour. More than 1,700 flights have been canceled across the country so far this morning, with several airports in Florida closing by this morning. 19 of those flights are out of SeaTac. Another 1,700 flights have already been canceled for tomorrow nationwide. Airlines added thousands of seats, allowing more people to get out ahead of this very, very powerful storm.
All right. Yeah, we were at my son's curriculum night last night speaking with one of the parents there, and she's waiting for her husband to try to get out of, Atlanta right now and fly home, but he was supposed to be there all week, but now trying to get back home. So impacting people, even up here in the Pacific Northwest. Talk about the storm's track, George, right now.
Okay, so it's still on track. An overnight landfall through tomorrow morning, the west coast of Florida. And just now at 5 o'clock, they did their 3-hour update, the Hurricane Center. Winds down from 160 to 155 miles per hour. So it's a small downtick, but it was enough to go from a Category 5 to a Category 4. Not really much of a difference there. You have such a big storm system moving toward a highly populated area. And so the latest track shows maintaining Category 4 status all the way through landfall overnight tonight, although wind speeds coming down to 130. Now remember, those are the maximum sustained winds within the eye wall. So zooming in here, I can point out the eye wall. It's right there. So when we talk about 155 mile per hour winds, they're limited to this area right here. That's kind of like the nucleus. It's the most important part of the structure of the hurricane. On the outside, you have the rain bands, and then you have, these could be outer rain bands. They're just rain developing ahead of the system. They're already lashing the west coast of Florida, and the winds in the west coast of Florida will pick up later this afternoon. Now remember, the flow is counterclockwise. Day after day of all this wind driving the water up against the coast, that's what we call storm surge. That causes the coastal waters to rise, and with this system, they could peak at 15 feet during landfall and high tide.
And breaking from the live desk, we continue to keep a close eye on Hurricane Milton as it it zeroes in on Florida's west coast. The storm now a Category 4 hurricane. It was downgraded at the top of the hour as it prepares to make landfall tonight. Expected to be a catastrophic storm. This is a live picture that's actually coming in from Orlando. I know you can't see much here except for kind of what's on the bottom, but I wanted to show you this just because we just got an update from Orlando International Airport in the last 30 minutes. That airport there has now shut down operations as this storm prepares to hit Florida later on tonight and won't reopen until it's safe to do so, essentially after they look at some of the damages that are left behind. I want to show you some new video that just came across our live desk feeds overnight, and it shows the long lines in Orange County, Florida, as people there waited for hours to fill up sandbags ahead of the storm. According to ABC News, approximately 6 million people across 11 Florida counties now under mandatory evacuations, but many people are choosing to stay put, hoping to ride out this storm, even though it will be dangerous, and also protect their homes. In Tampa here, workers have once again installed this special fence around Tampa General Hospital ahead of the hurricane's arrival. The flood barrier was previously installed ahead of Hurricane Helene several weeks ago to protect that building from the storm's floodwaters. That fence is set to withstand storm surge up to 15 feet above sea level. The hospital will remain open during the storm.